What up? What up? Welcome to another episode of Debate with Bait, brought to you by Most Serious Entertainment in the heart of Most City, Texas. I'm your host, Mr. Charles Baker, aka C Bake. That's my co-host, Gerard Cole, aka Cole, aka Rude Boy. What's going on, Cole?
We over here chilling, man. Glad to see our guests here today. The Giants won last week. New York represented.
Yeah, we got to get into that. I know you feeling real good, even though the Giants really ain't your team. You really a Jets team, but it's all good, man. Y'all can do that in New York. Y'all can bandwagon. You can jump on the Knicks wagon when you want to. You can jump on the Nets wagon when you want to. Now you jumping on the Giants wagon, even though you want to talk about Sauce Gardner all year, but it's all good. Y'all the number one city in the nation, supposedly. So that's the luxury of living in New York. But before we get to our guest, and we got a special guest tonight, let's pay some bills before we get started. Make sure you follow Most Serious Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to Most Serious Entertainment on YouTube. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we finally got the man in here. I've been waiting for this interview, and it's a big interview. Tonight's guest is a special guest. Yes, sir, ladies and gentlemen. Before I introduce this man, let's give him the proper introduction. My guest sitting next to my left over here has earned 4 letters playing high school football at Rusk High, where he spent time as running back, quarterback, linebacker, defensive line, fullback, played everything on the field. He garnered all-state allocates his senior season in 1996 after rushing for 1,250 yards and 12 touchdowns on offense, while recording 85 tackles and 1 sack on defense. My man here was a team captain as a senior. He earned first team All East Texas and All District honors his junior and senior seasons. He rushed for 1,428 yards and 20 touchdowns as a junior in 1995. This guy also earned letters in track and field. My man didn't stop there. He played at Notre Dame with the Fighting Irish, from 1997 to 2000, recording career totals of 207 tackles and 9 sacks. And yes, sir, he earned Associated Press second team All-American honors in the year 2000. He was also Notre Dame MVP and team captain his senior year 2000. He was selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars of the NFL with the 213th pick in the 2001 NFL draft and signed with the team on June 7, 2001. Then he did a small stint with the Cleveland Browns as well as the Buffalo Bills. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Anthony Denman. What's up, Ant?
I'm not much, man. Thank y'all both for having me in your show. I really appreciate you having me today.
That's right, man. Let's get into it, Ant. Your high school career. Now, obviously, looking at your stats in high school, of course, you had a successful career. But one thing that stood out about you was your versatility. Like we said in the introduction, you played you played running back, quarterback, defensive line, and of course, the position you played mostly is linebacker. But how did it come about, Ant, with you playing all these positions, man?
Well, I started playing organized football in 7th grade, and I was always running back or outside linebacker. And then I think it was my freshman year, we played against a team in East Texas, Corrigan Camden, Corrigan Camden Bulldogs. And I was a starting running back, and my good buddy was also, fullback, had a split backfield.
Yeah.
So in this game, I remember vividly, I had like 3 or 4 fumbles. Yeah. Fumbles, it kills the team.
Yeah.
So my coach, Coach Walker, he was like, Denman, you got a bad case of fumbleitis. I was like, fumbleitis? What's that? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We're going to move you to fullback now. So I'm like, fullback, man, fullback, come on. I'm thinking, nowadays the kids are like, I'm done with it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play fullback. I'm going to be the best fullback you ever saw in your whole life.
Right.
So I get down at fullback and I'm doing my thing. I'm going to block. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to be a good teammate. I got a setback, but I'm not going to let it stop me, right? So I played it pretty well. So the varsity coach was like, man, Denman, he's doing his thing at fullback. Let's move him up to varsity,
right,
as a freshman. So I got moved up to varsity, but all the varsity skill positions, as far as like outside linebacker, safety, were taken by upperclassmen. So they said, okay, we're gonna put you at nose tackle and defensive tackle. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I'm like 6'2", like 190, soaking wet, playing nose tackle, 3A football. Before they had, two different divisions. There's only one 3A, Division 2, Division 1.
Yeah.
So playing nose tackle.
Nose tackle.
Yeah, nose tackle and defensive tackle. So I was playing fullback too. So I was blocking for a guy named Clifton Hunt, real good friend of mine. My uncle, he coached him too, Henry Irvin. He kind of mentored us both. And when Clifton graduated, I kind of we had a try for tailback, and I actually won the position. And from there, I had a good sophomore campaign. And then I started getting recruited because my coach was you got a lot of coaches back then that really didn't promote their players. But we had a coach named Larry Upshaw, really good man. His wife was Kay Upshaw. She was our counselor. Okay. And they really promoted the players. It wasn't none of those games where you're hiding people's letters and things like that.
Right.
They really cared about, the young men and young women at school. So coach was like, Denman, yeah, you need to take the ACT. I'm like, what's that? Well, I didn't know what the ACT was.
Same here.
So I'm like, ACT, we got to get you, NCAA clearinghouse, all that good stuff.
Yep.
I'm like, what's that? So took the ACT. I think I made a 21 my sophomore year. And I said, I didn't take it again. Like, now you good. So, so I'm like, we're gonna go ahead and track it up. So at that point, I'm getting recruited. I think the first offer was Coach John Blake from Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
He coached for the Cowboys back when we won the championships. And he came down to Russ High School in East Texas. And they couldn't talk to me, but they took me out of class and said, hey, you got a coach here looking at you. I'm like, who? Coach Blake from Oklahoma. So they said he wants you to come out the classroom and walk down the hall. I'm like, walk down the hall? Because I guess he wanted to see, how I walked. And
right.
Balance I had. So I think somebody walked down the hall. He was like, we're going to offer him. So he offered me, my first scholarship offer was Oklahoma. Coach John Blake.
Sooners.
And I was like, man, that's pretty cool. He had a black coach, rarity back in those days.
Right, yeah.
So I'm playing running back again. You're trying to get these positions. And then I'm starting quarterback my senior year. Going into senior year, he got hurt. It was a bad car accident, and he had his mouth wired shut. It was pretty bad. So the coaches came to me and they were like, hey, Anthony, what do you think about playing quarterback? I'm like, quarterback? I've been playing, running back.
Yeah.
Defensive
line,
never played quarterback, like, coach, whatever y'all think you need to do to win, we can do that. So we playing option, I'm playing quarterback. I think I had the longest touchdown pass for that season. So eventually my friend Aaron Burwell came back from the injury. He wasn't fully recovered. They were like, hey, Aaron's back, and we want to know if you want to keep playing, quarterback. I'm like, well, I'm getting recruited as a blue chip, as a running back. I want to give him opportunity to get his, shine on too.
Right.
So yeah, he can play quarterback. So that's how I ended up playing quarterback. It's kind of like by accident. Literally.
So all those positions you played at, and we're still talking about high school at Russ High. What did you have a favorite? Like, it sounds like to me, it sounds like you were talented. Of course, you was athletic to be able to play those positions. Was there any one out of those positions that you favored or you liked playing at that time?
I would say, of course, running back.
Running back.
I had these dreams of being the next Gale Sayers, or, the next Emmitt Smith or whatever.
Right.
Amon Green. And when Oklahoma started recruiting me, Nebraska started recruiting me.
Okay.
And Nebraska was a powerhouse back then.
Right. So was Oklahoma too. Yes.
So, these schools, they start recruiting you, start sending you letters, and they sent me a poster of Nebraska's schedule, like a full-size poster.
Yeah.
I put it on my wall. And every time I would go to bed at night, it would be right in front of me. I'd be laying in the bed looking at Nebraska. I'm going to be the next running back in Nebraska. So running back was my favorite position because, you get the score. It's a physical position. I mean, I love to run. I was pretty fast for my size and everything. So I think running back.
Running back was your favorite position? Okay, good. I was wondering that because, again, man, like I said, you had to be a great athlete to do all of that. And I'm just thinking, of course you ended up playing linebacker. We'll get to that later. But I was just wondering because, that's a lot of positions: quarterback, running back, defensive line. And again, like you said, defensive line. I'm thinking, when I see defensive line, I'm thinking DN, D tackle. You say you played nose tackle.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't matter. Just get in the backfield. I know I was undersized. I'll quick them.
Right.
Get in the backfield because I know if I get engaged, I'm 197. I was pretty strong, but these guys, 250.
Right.
They wasn't huge, offensive tackles, but enough to kind of overpower you over time.
Right.
For a quarter, that'll get to you.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I was like, God,
it kind of ended up biting me in the behind later on down the line. So, but later on down the line.
Cole, go ahead, man.
What was your coming out moment like in high school? What was that game that you was like, this is it? Like I could really be something special, go to the NFL, go to the college, be D1 athlete and shine. What was that one game or that one moment?
That's a good question. I think it might have been, was it my sophomore year? Because it was, when Clifton Hunt left, he was a big time running back, running 10, 800 meters. And that's, fast, not really having a proper training. Really quick. I was his fullback. And then it was a big competition for tailback going to my sophomore year. And I ended up winning it. And the first few games, I was doing well, but I really didn't have any breakout games, no 180-yard games. But then we played against a team called White Oak. And I like to be physical. I was like a run you over kind of running back.
Right.
And I remember one game against this same team against White Oak. And Coach Walker, who actually played with my dad back in the day, I was running over people left and right. He's like, Denman, come here. Son, put a move on and go around. I'm like, you know what? Let me try that.
Right.
So I did that a couple of times. I broke one for like 80 and one for 75. And that's when I knew, like, you know what? I might be, gonna do this. So then I started doing that pretty much every other game or every game. And so I get recruited, blue chip stuff, getting letters from everybody, Michigan, Notre Dame, all the Big 12, Big 10 schools. So that's when I knew at that point. And I think, also, I started school a little bit early. So my freshman year, I was like the youngest person on the team. I was 13. I ended up graduating at 17. And then my sophomore year, I ran track. My freshman year and sophomore year, I ran track. I think I ran like 11,500 meters. Then my sophomore year, as a 14-year-old, I ran like 11 flat, like, close to 10-9. Okay. So coach was like, man, he's running 11 flat, 13, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And, they kind of projected out like 11 5, 11 flat, so they're like, oh, he's going to be, so the speed factor and, I already had my academics together as far as the ACT and all that good stuff. So I think that's when I knew that game against White Oak.
So you was like, what, 6 feet around that time when you was like 13, or you were smaller?
I was about 6 foot, 6'1". I mean, I probably kind of got the 6 foot around, ninth grade, like 5'11", 6 foot. So I was like, I don't think I got any taller past my sophomore, junior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's stay in Russ, man, before we get out of your high school career, because again, and we kind of briefly talked about this off air, but I want to hear that. I want the audience to hear this. But let's talk about, can you take us through the high school football experience in Rusk? Of course, I mean, you already talked about your sophomore year, the breakout year. We talked about all the positions that you played, and the ACT score. That's a very high ACT score to be a sophomore. You see yourself, you come into your own. You had your aha moment in terms of, sophomore year, having breakout games, things like that. But let's talk about the high school football experience in Rusk. What was it like? I mean, and go as far as back. I mean, we're talking about high school, but whatever you want to add to it. Tell us about the high school, the football experience rather in Rusk. I won't limit it to high school, but whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. We in Texas, football is king in Texas, and East Texas is even bigger than that.
Right.
So I think my freshman year, our team had been in the playoffs for like 12, 13 years. So when we made the playoffs that first year, people got excited.
Right.
So the first year we went to playoffs, we went like 1 deep. Then the second year we went 2 deep, and then my junior year we went 3 deep.
So it kept getting
the buzz just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's not much to do in East Texas. I mean, so during the off season it's football, right. And then in season is even more exciting than that. So I remember like pep rallies and things of that nature, and the moms coming in, to the locker room, decorating it for the games, the pageantry, the rivalries in the district. I mean, we had a team in our district called the Center Rough Riders, and that was our big rival. We couldn't beat them, so it was a big time game. I think it was my sophomore year, and it rained like crazy, man. It was like the Mud Bowl, And I mean, we had skill position players. They had skill position players. They had a guy who was kind of like Plaxico Burress, wide receiver.
Yeah.
But that mud bowl made everything equal.
Right.
It was mano a mano, our backfield, fullback. I mean, the fullback is dead now, but we was running, isolation plays every other play. Mano a mano. So we won that game like 13-9. And I still have the picture of us going to Pizza Hut because back then Pizza Hut was like Fridays or whatnot.
Yeah. It sure was.
And it was like, man, it was just the biggest moment, man. It might as well have been the Super Bowl. Just the build up. The coaches had these shirts. We had shirts that had "We Can" on there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can, we can make it. We can make the district. We make it to state. Remember we talked about in the all season. Every time we did a drill, win state. We do put win state. We can. So it was all a mentality that built up that Coach Upshaw did throughout that whole time with all our players. It's the mentality and the build up and the hype behind football there.
Okay, so it sounds like it was very big. Let me ask you this. Based on that, talk about the atmosphere. We talk about you playing multiple positions. We talk about you having the academic success in terms of the ACT score. When you look back, what were you most proud of concerning those years? I mean, of course, you named a lot of positive things, but when you look back at that, what were you most proud of in terms of your high school experience? And you may have said it, but I just want to hear you say it, say it again a little bit more.
I think I was definitely most proud of the fact that when we graduated senior year, everybody goes up there, they call everybody's name, and they call my name. And they said Anthony Denman, scholarship, University of Notre Dame for $250,000. And dude, you might as well have said $250 million.
Yeah, exactly.
The crowd went crazy. I mean, I played at University of Tennessee. I played at University of Michigan in the big house, and I'm like, that crowd might have been just as loud because they were right up on you. Like, man, this is a huge deal. I mean, if it didn't register then, it registered now because everybody was excited about it, and everybody, man, I hope you make it, man. I hope you make it. And I'm thinking about, I gotta make it.
Right.
I can't. You hear about guys going to college and coming back to homesick. No, it's do or die.
Right.
So that was my proudest moment. Then, my family, I think I was the first person. My cousin and I, we were real competitive. We were our grandmother's first grandchildren, and when he went to pre-K, I was like, man, I miss Jason. I was going to school too. So my mom told the people in Russ that I was actually 4, and I was like 3.
Right.
That's why I didn't go to school early. So throughout the whole time that we're in college, he went to San Angelo in West Texas. We were competing to see who's going to graduate first.
Right. Right.
So that way we kept pushing each other. But the fact that we both graduated and we both, he got academic scholarship there, those scholarships and what it meant to our family and to ourselves personally. I mean, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, my aunts, that was my proudest moment.
That's big, man. It's big that you say that. Cole, I'm gonna let you spin, but I want to ask one more question because that's big that you said that. Mm-hmm. Again, man, like a lot of success, academic success, on the field success. And then you talk about your proudest moment, which is your high school graduation. And so it seems like everything came full circle. Did you ever feel any pressure in that time? Because I mean, that's a lot of good accomplishments. Of course, we talked about off the air, you were focused. You definitely had to be focused to do all these things. But do you ever recall any pressure? Was it ever any moment where you felt like, because I'm thinking about, I mean, that's a lot. And man, that's, first of all, you're in Russ, Texas. You playing football. At some point now, you said, okay, you had your aha moment of sophomore year. This is your ticket. This is what you're gonna do. You're focused. You got a lot riding on this. Did you ever feel any pressure? Because I mean, that's a lot, man. Not everybody does that. Not everybody's able to do that at such a young age. Is there any pressure? Was there any pressure? And if it was pressure, what was it coming from?
I wouldn't necessarily say pressure.
Okay.
But everybody's gonna have their detractors.
Right.
He's not gonna make it. He ain't good enough. So I was just like laugh at that because I knew that in my mind, I don't care what nobody says. I know in my inner being how confident I am in myself.
Great point.
I'm like, okay, you think that, but I'm going to show you. But I can tell you, I got 99% of people on my side. I mean, like I said, that graduation, I mean, it was all love.
That's big
time.
So
it was like, I mean, that 1%, like, you
Yeah.
talk about that push. You remember that, you file that away, like, okay.
Right.
And whenever you get like distracted off track, you know what? That one person said, you know what? I'm gonna show them all. The people, but more so for the people who are pulling for you. Right. I don't want to let them down.
Right.
I don't want to let my mom down.
Right.
I don't want to let my grandmother down.
Right.
My grandmother had to go to the back of the school.
Right.
Back of those stores and things like that. She told me those stories. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna let my elders down. Right. No matter what. I'm gonna make them proud. I'm gonna finish. Big point. And that's my whole goal. I mean, that little 1%, like, okay, I'll follow the way, but the main focus was to make my family proud. Good. Great point. Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, it's ironic that you say that and you bring up family and everything, because I believe that a lot of what we become as young adults, grown adults, is attributed to the seeds that our family planted in our lives. So what do you think were the seeds that your family planted in your life to make you such a successful individual and a successful athlete?
I think my uncle, like my dad, he wasn't around that much, but my uncle was like our father figure. And we had another uncle too in East Tech, in Tyler. It wasn't that far. And so they would play us in basketball. We never would beat him, man. No matter how strong I got. I mean, my Uncle Norris, he could jump like a kangaroo. I never could block his shot. Like, man, I still can't block his shot. He's 60-something years old. He's about to dunk right now.
Really?
Yes, I'm serious. He's a freaking nature. I'm like, man, why did you go
make me feel bad?
So it's kind of like I think. What was your question? I'm kind of drew a blank right quick.
So I was trying to say, I was asking that, a lot of success is attributed to the seeds that our families plant in our lives when we're young. What do you think it was that moment, that saying, or was it even church, or that person that impacted you to be the successful person that you are today?
I'm a black man, but anyway, I think my uncles and the stories growing up from my elders, like what they had to go through. Mm-hmm. It's like they went through all this. This is a cakewalk right here. Right. I got it good. Right. They couldn't even be in these circles. They couldn't even go to University of Notre Dame. Opportunities. So it's like I cannot take that lightly. And my uncle used to take us fishing all the time, man. Like he would be in the woods getting the skill bit deep woods off. We're talking about life. Don't do this, don't do that. He taught us how to play chess. Taught us baseball. That's pretty much my first coach. Okay. So my elders, man, just seeing what they went through in a small town, and they had all their hopes and dreams, and seeing what I was doing, see what I was going to do, and I think that was the key, the catalyst, just to stay focused when everybody else was distracted. Like, you know what, I know where I came from, and I got to uplift my people. Pretty much. Great point.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. Now, of course, you picked Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Of course, you ended up going with Notre Dame. But let's talk about what influenced that decision to go to Notre Dame. I mean, obviously, in my questions, I said the top 3 schools, but of course, you named Oklahoma. You named a couple of other schools that were looking at you. But in particular, I would like to know and tell the audience, why did you decide to pick Notre Dame? I mean, because obviously, and that's a big choice, especially from a kid coming from Texas in that time. Texas is a big football state. There's Texas, there's LSU. Of course, things were different back then. But again, Notre Dame, you ended up Notre Dame, and Notre Dame is a big time school, especially back then. Notre Dame was winning a lot. Mm-hmm. So, but what influence, or why did you choose the University of Notre Dame?
Well, it was kind of like we had to take a deeper dive, right? I remember the first time that Notre Dame sent a letter to my school, right? And I had no idea where Notre Dame was. I remember them playing A&M in the Cotton Bowl, but I was kind of like, who the A&M play again?
Right.
But when that letter came with that gold helmet on it, my coach, Coach Larry Upshaw, he was like, you need to go here. I'm like, where's that at? Right. It's University of Notre Dame. Like, you know about Notre Dame? I'm like, I don't know nothing about Notre Dame, right? So I'm thinking I might go to Oklahoma, John Blake. Right. But then we started taking a deeper dive into it and looking at the schools like Texas was recruiting me, Texas A&M, Texas wanted me at linebacker. I'm like, man, I'm a running back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I end up playing linebacker.
Right, right,
man,
exactly. That's interesting.
Man, don't even come over here
right.
at run linebacker. I'm a running back, man. I'm a Mine Green.
Right. That's interesting.
You know, so A&M too. I was like, I don't want to go to A&M because we had a guy named Larry Walker who actually went to A&M like 5 years before me. He was a linebacker for the Wrecking Crew defense, number 32.
Okay.
Super fast. I mean, 10, 300 meters. It was the fastest linebacker timed in the nation at one point. But we took that deep dive, like I said, and looked at the numbers. So Oklahoma, like we talked about distractions before we got on, like it was a bunch of Texas people up there, man. You know, like it's like Texas North up there.
Right,
and
right.
It's a lot of distractions, if you will.
Right.
And then Texas A&M, same thing. But we looked at those graduation rates.
Great.
It was like, man, I love Oklahoma, but it's under 50%. So when the Notre Dame coach Kirk Dahl came down and said, you know, because he had coached at A&M before he went to Notre Dame with Bob Davie.
Okay.
And they brought like 3 or 4 guys from A&M. He was like, you know, we got a better graduation rate. It's 98%. Texas A&M's is 40-some%. My folks was like 40-some%. Like what?
Exactly. Right.
It's like the football graduation rate, and then there's the African American rate, which is lower. Okay. So if it was 50, it was like the African American was like 45. Same thing with Oklahoma, same thing with Texas, same thing with all the schools. Like, dang, they really care, you know?
Yeah.
And the only other school that probably had a higher one was TCU, but back then, TCU, the whole 90s, they were kind of, you know, they weren't all that good until like the 99, 2000 season.
Right, they started
getting, you know, better. Right. They had the Damian Thomason, a lot of players. But that was the great that separated the wheat from the chaff, if you will.
Good.
Which ones the best school was all around Notre Dame was football, academics, alumni network. So that made that decision a lot easier. So even if I did say, you know, I want to go to Oklahoma, my folks like, hey, you need to go to Notre Dame. The whole village was like, the whole elders was like, hey, Notre Dame's we need to go because, you know, it's a smaller school. It's got better graduation rates.
Right.
And we're going to see you on TV, you know, every home game. I mean, they came to a lot of games too. They came to maybe, you know, 5 or 10 games throughout my time there. But yeah, that made it a lot easier when you looked at those numbers.
That's pretty good. That's big time, man. Because again, and I'm glad you answered that question. I wanted to know that because, of course, we know you love football, but that makes a lot of sense. Notre Dame is a prestigious university. So, I mean, that's big time, man. Checking all the boxes of education and graduation, that's big. Let's talk about this now. And Cole, I'm gonna come back to you in a second. Now you're on campus. You made the decision. You signed a letter of intent. All right. You've had success. Now Russ Kai is in the wind. You report to campus. Get to campus, get to Notre Dame. Let's talk about that freshman year. And I like to talk about that freshman year because I know for me, it was a big shock for me in a sense that, you know, high school, you know how high school is. I look at high school, it's like in high school, you know, you playing against other players, but of course, they're not the same caliber as you. Now you step onto the big campus. You get there. There's no more high school going on. You're on the campus. This is for real. It's scholarship. You're going against other players, probably other Anthonys at that campus. Take us about that freshman year. What was that about? How did that come about? And tell us what was it like that freshman year at Notre Dame? Coming from a small town in Texas to now you're up in Indiana, big time football school, big time Catholic university. Tell us about that freshman year.
Okay, I remember my parents, my folks came in, they dropped us off and everything. And there was all the recruiting class of 97 there. And then they gave us our dorm room. And I was rooming with another guy from Texas, Grant Irons out of the Woodlands.
Right.
And they had our picture, they had our number on the wall. My number was 39. His was number 44. And just like at home, I had the Nebraska post up there. And on my number, it had number 39. And his had like all the All-Americans that wore his number. Mark Edwards, a couple more guys. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make my number an All-American.
No, yeah.
That was my goal. That's my goal. Make my number an All-American.
Okay.
So in Notre Dame, I don't know if other schools do it, but like in your on your helmet, they have a blue stripe. So you got the gold helmet, but a blue stripe to recognize that you're a freshman.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Interesting.
So now with the blue stripe, whoever make the most plays, like you're a playmaker, you can get your blue stripe removed, right?
So the fully gold
so
helmet.
It's like, what? We recognizing that, you're not a freshman, you're gonna actually be playing, like you're gonna be a baller. So for me, I mean, I didn't care what their accolades were, if they were a starter, backup. If I'm out there, they're gonna get it, So after the first week of running back, I realized that, what, the only person getting carries in this team is Archer Denson. So his name is Archer Denson. His name is Anthony Denman.
Right.
So I started joking and said, "You little AD," because he's 5'10". I'm big AD. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what, man? He's nobody getting any carries. He's incumbent. He was going towards the all-time leading rusher at Notre Dame. I said, you know what? Let me go and switch over to linebacker. So I switched over to linebacker.
Okay.
And then Coach Dahl, who recruited me, he was a linebacker coach. And I remember vividly during fall camp, I'm out there. I'm giving it to him Texas style. Like, we busting heads. Like, man, Denman's balling. So I think I might have been like the fourth person to get my stripe removed for my helmet. And I think maybe 7 people total out of like 21 people in the freshman class got their stripe removed.
Now, this is right after camp? This is in camp?
This is in camp.
Okay,
so
okay.
We're going through camp. I switched over to linebacker like 2 weeks in because, like, nobody getting no carries. I'm trying to get in the field now. I'm trying to make a mark right now. I'm versatile, like we talked about.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to get out there. And then, so I switched over to outside linebacker. I was behind Corey Minor. He came in. He was a big-time recruit at Notre Dame. He started 4 years. So I worked my way up to number 2. So, I mean, I know this guy. This guy's cool now, but I remember walking back from practice one day. We walking to the stadium, and I'm not going to say his name, but Coach Dahl was talking to another guy who actually came in Notre Dame he was a number 1 defensive back over Charles Woodson.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he ate too many biscuits in Notre Dame, got a little bit bigger. Now he's a linebacker, right? So he was outside linebacker behind Corey before I got there.
Okay.
So now I'm number 2 linebacker, and I'm walking back to the stadium after practice one day. I'm number 2 linebacker, got my stripe removed. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing my thing, making my mark. And I see him talking to Coach Dahl. Yeah, Coach Dahl, I should be number 2. Denman ain't better than me. And I'm like, what? I'm walking by like, I just looked over and I laughed like, man, whatever, man. I kept on walking like, it's crazy, man. But, it was weird. But I ended up, being number 2 linebacker behind Corey Minor, getting in sparingly my freshman year. And it was a good freshman year for me. I made my mark. I was one of the few freshmen to letter. So it was important to me to get out there, to keep that momentum going and not kind of be buried and lost in the sauce, So.
Right. So do you think that transition, it sounds like you made the adjustment, or it sounds like it wasn't that much of an adjustment in terms of on the field. You think everything was that transition was easy for you? I
mean, I'm not the kind of person that gets caught up into this is say LeBron James or whoever. I'm like, LeBron James in front of me, if I'm playing defense,
right.
I mean, I'm playing hard as I can.
Right.
If he can beat me, he can beat me. I mean, I'm like, oh man, I'm not starstruck. Remember one of my teammates I talked to recently, he was a running back in my class too. And he said when he got to campus, he'd been following Notre Dame for years. He always wanted to go to Notre Dame. And when he got on campus, he said, man, I was starstruck. It was Archer Denson. I'm like, I ain't know none of them dudes. I'm like, I don't know who they is. I don't give a they're finna get it.
Right.
I'm finna get after them and I'm finna bust their head, That's what it is.
Right.
So I didn't care.
That's a great point, man.
Like, I'm not getting caught up on that.
Right.
Like man on man, number 32, me and you, we about to
come in business. Yeah. That's a great point, man. That's a great point. Go ahead, Cole.
So when you came into college, the whole recruitment process.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like coaches will come to your family, will come to the high school and sell you a dream. Did you feel like they sold you a dream before you got to Notre Dame that was different from the time you got onto campus? Is one question. And number 2, was there a coach that you gravitated towards throughout your college career that kind of helped you transition and grow as an athlete and as a student?
I think they shot me straight, man, to be quite candid. Coach Dahl, the linebacker coach who came from A&M with Bob Davie, they both came down. Coach Dahl was coming down frequently, talking to, hey, Anthony, you can come here. We're going to try to recruit this many running backs. We got this many scholarships left. Kept me abreast of the situation. We got room for you, blah, 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 blah. And then they came down one more time with Coach Davie. And I still have that picture. I still sent you that picture, man. And we're in the living room, and I was like, you know what? It feels right. You know, all the numbers, you know, match up. I mean, it's the best school for me. It's a small school too.
Right.
My hometown at that point was under 5,000 people. So in Notre Dame, the campus is like 12,000 people. It's not like Texas, 50,000.
Right.
A&M, 40,000. That's like, to me, that's like, you know, huge. So I think they totally shot me straight. And I feel like, you know, it was a good recruiting process. As far as a coach, I gravitated towards. I mean, I think when you make plays, all the coaches like you. So I never really caught the ire of any really, you know, coaches like, we're gonna make an example out of you. We're gonna make you run. So, but one coach was Coach Dahl. You know, Coach Dahl is my recruiting. He recruited me, like I said. He was also the linebackers coach, and we've been friends ever since, man. I mean, I invited him to my wedding. You know, that's how cool we are. He's coaching now, and he's in Louisiana, matter of fact. Okay. So, I mean, good people all the way around. He used to joke with us, man. We don't win this game. We working at McDonald's and stuff like that. And it was fun. He was a funny dude, man. He was a funny guy. Good, down to earth. You could tell he cared about you. You know, if something happened and he like, hey, I'm gonna call your mom. I'm like, oh no, dog, you don't call my mom. You know, so he was a good guy, man. Good people. Shot me straight. And I feel like, you know, Coach Dahl and I have a good relationship to this day.
Okay.
I want to stay there. I'm glad. Good segue, Cole. Let's talk about Coach Davey. Can you describe what it was like playing for him? And you may have elaborated on it a little bit. His coaching style, his personality. What would you say about Coach Davey?
Coach Davey, I thought about that. I feel like, you know, nowadays, you know, you have Twitter, you got Facebook, you got all these social media things. So if something happens on a campus, you pretty much know about it, you know, pretty quickly.
That's right.
So I say it to say, when we came in as a freshman class, we're kind of in the blind to what was going on before Lou Holtz kind of like said, you know, I'm done in Notre Dame.
Right.
So I found this out years later. Coach Davey, I think a lot of the players, upperclassmen, felt like Davey did something to get Holtz out of there, right? So I don't know if that's true or not.
Right.
But I know one thing is true that we can document and look it up, right? Is that he fired Joe Moore. Joe Moore is like a big-time offensive line coach. They have the Joe Moore Award named after him. So what they said happened was Davey, once he got the job, he went to Joe Moore's house and said, "Hey, Joe, I got the job now. You know, you know, we don't need you no more." And he's like, "Dang, you know, I don't need me no more. Dang, let me tell my players." So he went. So they said Davey went back to campus and told him Joe Moore retired. You know, yeah. So Joe Moore comes back to campus. You heard what Davey said and tried to fight Bob Davey. And I'm like, this all happened before we got there. And I'm like,
so hold on, this is going into freshman year?
This happened before we got there. So Lou Holtz said, I'm done with them.
So you had no
idea.
Nothing.
No idea. So I noticed though, we got there. Now I'm telling you, one of my other buddies who was a sophomore when I was a freshman, Bob Davey, we were having practice, man, and Davey was like, hey, call it up right here. Call it up. You know, you bring everybody in, call it up. He's like, man, I can't wait till I get my class here and get some actual athletes in here. And I was like, what? I said, he told y'all that. So it was kind of like a competition now, like that's Davey's guys, and we Holtz's guys.
Okay.
So it's like it kind of separated the team before we even got there. I mean, I don't know what was going on, man. But I found this out years later. I said, no wonder they kept seeing, y'all, you Davey's guy. You know, that's your coach. I'm like, yo, coach, it's our coach. Like, what's going on, man? I had no idea.
Now that's interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea.
So it was split between you were Davey's guy. And of course, well, that makes sense. Lou Holtz guys are still there. So that was kind of the dynamic.
Unbeknownst to us, because like I said,
you wouldn't know that.
No social media. Nobody really talking. And then the comments he did in practice and the Joe Moore situation. I mean, before we got there, Joe Moore sued the school for age discrimination. So they got players coming in testifying in the trial. And I had no idea until after the fact, way after the fact. I'm like, wait, this was all going on? Yeah, man, you know about that? So, no, I didn't know about that. So, because, I mean, we just locked in. There's no Twitter.
Right.
There's really no internet.
There's no way you can find that out.
Internet was kind of new. You know, there was no, none of that stuff, man. No blogs, none of that. So Joe Moore sued the school. He won. Players coming in and testifying, current players and former players testifying, and it was pretty nasty.
So Based on that, did you start to get to know Davey a little bit more? I mean, after that, like, because that's kind of like, okay, you didn't know, but when you got there, of course, you were recruited by him. How did you feel about him, Davey, Coach Davey?
I felt okay about Davey. I mean, he recruited me. He gave me an opportunity to come to Notre Dame. He could have picked. He could have picked a lot of guys.
Right.
So, I mean, they came to my high school before. Got the Larry Walker.
Right.
He panned out well for them. Good guy. He actually works at A&M now, and I felt just fine about Davey. I have no problem. Even we got into it one time. We squashed it, and we men. Anybody don't hold no grudges.
Right.
We talked about it, and
Okay. Man, that's crazy. That controversy, and like you said, it wasn't no social media to come into that. Now you found that out, of course, later.
Maybe like 3 or 4 years after I stopped playing.
Really?
I mean, it was always like, yeah, Davey. The upperclassmen like Davey, Shady Davey.
Yeah.
So, no, man,
and I'm assuming that was Lou Holtz guys.
Lou Holtz guys. I mean, it was some stuff, man. It was a trip. I remember getting recruited, and they were telling us, hey, we're gonna get Nike because Notre Dame had Reebok, back then.
Yeah.
Reebok. So in 97, during recruiting, he was telling the players on the team and the recruits, hey, we're gonna switch to Nike, we're gonna have spat and everything.
Right.
Man, we got Adidas, man. Adidas was a soccer shoe back then.
And I think they still with Adidas now, right? To this day,
I think Under Armour now. They got Under Armour.
That's right. They are Under Armour. That's right.
To me, Adidas was a soccer shoe.
Yeah.
I got a flat foot. So those Adidas hurt my feet like these that watched it in glory.
We had Adidas too. I couldn't stand Adidas. I couldn't stand Adidas.
They're not good football shoes.
Yeah, I didn't like them in basketball either. We had Adidas, man, and I hated it. They are flat, and you can't. To me, it's like you couldn't bend, you couldn't flex.
The sole was like stiff.
Yeah. Exactly.
In spring, man.
Exactly. That's crazy. So you didn't know. You didn't know that you was in the midst of that. That's crazy. People don't, and I'm glad you brought that up because when there is a coaching change and the new guy brings his guys in, I know in basketball, so in football, it's a lot of players. In basketball, it's not that many players. Usually in basketball, when a new coach come in, I mean, it's kind of like, unless you was one of the best players in the country, it's kind of like, man, it's kind of unspoken that you got to get up out of there. But it ain't but 12 or 15 guys. But in football, it's probably different. Yeah, it's different because it's way more guys, way more athletes. So, I mean, you can't bring in 50 guys on the recruiting thing. So it's going to be some guys. But I did not even know that because, again, when I thought about it, I'm looking at your resume, I'm looking at the questions, I'm like, well, Ant was there in 97, and I'm trying to remember when Lou Holtz left, and then when I finally looked up, I'm like, okay, Lou Holtz left right before Ant got there. And so it was like, oh, Coach Davey. But I never thought while I'm looking at that, it's still his players that make sense. And it would be a controversy, it would be there. So that's interesting. I saw it, but I never thought about that.
I was getting letters from Lou Holtz 1 minute, and then it was Davey.
That's crazy.
I mean, but me personally, I don't really follow the man. I'm looking at the institution.
It's Notre Dame, right? They were recruiting you
because a coach can leave anytime.
Right.
What's the institution looking like?
Right.
I'm looking at Oklahoma. I'm looking at John Blake, but guess what? John Blake got fired, and Bob Stoops came.
That's right.
So I can't follow John Blake.
That's a great point.
The whole institution, he came in 99. Bob Stoops.
Yeah.
We played him in 99. We won 31-30. The next year in 2000, they won the national championship.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I mean,
that's a good
I'm
piece
looking
of
at
history.
okay, Lou Holtz is the coach. Okay, I don't know him, blah, blah, blah. Notre Dame. I'm looking at Notre Dame. I'm looking at Oklahoma. I'm looking at TCU. I'm looking at the schools.
And so that makes sense then too, why you said about when we go back to why you chose Notre Dame. They showed interest. They seemed real. You looked at the graduation rates. And so to hear you say, not only did I get letters from Lou Holtz, but I also got from Bob. So that from Bob David, that let you know that they were still legit about you, even though that's interesting, man. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I think I may have one of those letters somewhere, but yeah, I remember that vividly.
That's interesting. I never put that together, man.
Since I didn't know much about Notre Dame, I didn't even know much about Lou Holtz. I'm like, okay, Lou Holtz,
yeah,
the coach, and blah blah blah.
But I can see why. Again, like you said, your decision, that's big. even if you didn't really pay attention to that though, but that I'm hearing that now, like I got letters from Lou Holtz and I got letters from Bob Davis. So that lets you know the institution, whether it's two coaches, they were invested in you. That's big. I've never heard of that, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I think David could have been, if it wasn't for so much controversy in the beginning, because at that point the team is fractured. Like, you not only we think you did something with Holtz, I don't know where they got that from, but we know that you fired Joe Moore and lied about it. And now you got guys testifying. It was a messy situation.
It's a lot of stuff to go through.
Mess.
Yeah.
So like, then we coming into it and like looking at us like, yeah, y'all Davies guys. Like, Davies guys.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What's going on around here?
Yeah.
Like, hey man, we got all the same team.
That's crazy.
They never really liked him like that.
That's crazy, man. You know what? That I didn't even think about. Like I said, I'm looking this up and I'm thinking about this interview, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, I don't think Ant played when Lou Holtz was there. But then I see, the transition between Lou Holtz and David, and it's like, I never thought about that. I never thought that could be an issue.
When they start saying David's guys, I'm thinking, but he was the D coordinator, so at least like half the team is
his guys, right? Yeah, right.
But they didn't see it that way. I mean, it's like, it was weird. I was like, well, you know what? Whoever the coach is, I'm just gonna pay, as hard as I can.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because that never crossed my mind when I'm looking this up. I like, wow. And then not to mention that, Lou Holtz was a legend to some people. I know he was down here. When we saw Notre Dame football, like I was telling you about Mike Miller and Rocket and all that, it was big down here in Texas because one of our own from Willow Ridge High School, he went to Notre Dame. And so Notre Dame, we saw Rocket Ishmael and all that. It was like, man, that's big time, Yeah. So I never thought about that. I'm looking at the notes. I'm thinking like, I never thought about the coaching change. Mm-hmm. And of course, I didn't know that you were coming in the midst of that. That's big time, man. And then you had to be focused to speak to what you were saying as far as, how focused you were from high school. You pretty much knew what you were going to do when you were working towards that. To stay focused, I mean, I know you said you wasn't really thinking about that, but still to stay focused in the midst of all of that, right. That's big. That's focus. That's big time, man. Some people would let that bother them. I mean, of course, your guy was the head coach, but that's big, man. That's a lot of stuff to go through.
It's interesting. For sure.
Yeah. That's crazy. Cole, go ahead, man. That's wow. I didn't know that.
So you said when you chose Notre Dame, it just felt right. Mm-hmm. Do you think that if you were to be recruited today with the new NIL, name, image, and likeness thing going on now, would you have chose Notre Dame still, or would you have chose somewhere else?
That's a good question, man, because Notre Dame's not playing that game right now. They're not playing. You come from a small town, struggling and all that good stuff. It's like at Notre Dame, I think they're not going to pay you. They're not going to get a collective together to pay a freshman. You're a freshman. You're really not a proven commodity. You might pan out. You might not.
That's a good point.
I think a lot of people are kind of, the smart ones anyway, are investing in players that are proven commodities. Like, I hate to say it, but those Trojans, USC, they coaching players left and right. They got the guy from Pittsburgh, the wide receiver. He got an American Airlines commercial. They got the other guy from Arizona they're trying to get. I think I probably definitely would have made the same decision because I looked at Kyle Hamilton, who's starting safety for Baltimore Ravens. He didn't come in with an NIL deal, but he was one of the biggest NIL earners that year. He was his senior year. So if you make the plays and you feel confident in your ability, you're gonna get opportunities. Mm-hmm. So I'd have made the same decision because I'm not like a short-sighted person. I want to look at the long game.
Right.
I want to look out 5, 10, 15 years. I can't just look right here. Get money right now. Like that one guy from Florida, the quarterback.
Right.
They promised him $13 million. The deal fell through. Now he's trying to get out of his scholarship. He's stuck. It's like, and it's interesting you mentioned about the NIL. I mean, that transfer portal.
This is big. Yeah.
That transfer portal is a game changer too. Like the guy from USC or Pittsburgh who went to USC. But I'll talk to you about that.
That's right. I was like, this is big. We were just talking about this weekend.
And that transfer portal is either the beacon of light or the black hole. Because only 40% of guys are getting picked up from that portal.
And explain that, Ed, because this is big, man. Like
it's like I would tell a player, do not go into that portal unless you got somebody reaching out their hand the other side to pull you out of there. Because guys are losing their scholarships, and a lot of those guys gonna end up being back home, or I got in the portal, I was mad, I didn't get no playing time, and I'm in the portal and nobody picked me up.
And when you say that, and I just want to be clear to the audience because this is big, and then I'm glad Cole asked that question, and I'm glad Ant got into it. But what he's saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ant, when you enter that transport portal, when you say somebody else, that means another school is offering you something or guaranteeing you a scholarship, right?
When you enter the portal, it could be either way. You can either get somebody to offer you a scholarship, or say you're a cornerback and you go into the portal, and the head coach of your team said, you know what, we talked to you about, please don't go in the portal, please stay. I'm going to the portal. You go into the portal. You're a cornerback. I said, well, we lost a cornerback. We're going to recruit a cornerback. We're going to sign one, or we're going to get one out the portal. If they sign one or get one out the portal, what they need you for?
Yeah.
You finished. We don't need you no more. We asked you to stay, but you said you want to go in the portal, and you stuck. And now they might be like, okay, come on back. We've been, but a lot of times, 60% of guys not getting picked up out that portal. And dreams are dying in that portal. Exactly. I hate to say it, like, man, you better be sure before you go into that black hole. It could be a black hole, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because again for this podcast, man, that's so educational, because I don't know if everybody knows that. I didn't know that. Like when you was telling me this weekend, I'm just thinking, I'm looking at the transport portal like, okay, these guys got opportunities. If you don't like the situation, you can jump in and throw it, but never crossed my mind that could happen.
Man, it's happening every day, and it's sad.
It is, man.
I remember my sophomore year, I came in 197. I hit the weight room. I'm 220 now, coming into my sophomore year, and we had the spring game. And I mean, I ain't trying to brag now, but I was busting some heads. I had like 13 tackles, interception, a couple sacks. So they knew, like, but I was taught to be patient.
Right.
We're fishing, like I said, all the time. My uncle,
right.
Hey, we got here. We might not catch nothing for 3 days, but eventually we're gonna catch a big old, probably a bass or whatever. So the coaches, I guess, they felt some kind of obligation to pull me to the side and say, hey, Anthony, we might move you over from drop linebacker behind Corey Minor to rush linebacker and starting. I'm like, and they knew my buddy was a starting rush linebacker. They're like, how you feel about that? I was like, hey, coach, you want to get the best 11 on the field? You feel like I'm the best 11? Let's do it. Cool. Like, we're gonna do it. We're gonna start it right. We're gonna start it soon. Man, they didn't do that, man. They didn't do. I was like, what? So we go through fall practice. We come back. I'm like, I'm still a drop linebacker. If you would have told me nothing, I've been just fine.
Right. Don't put it in my head.
So they saw me kind of like looking like these jokers. They every time looking, I'm like, what's up, coach? Like, like I wasn't disrespectful. I was like, now we talked about this rush linebacker.
Like, keep your word.
Come on now. Come on. You didn't have to tell me nothing. So they said, you know what? We're going to just make a package for you. We're going to call it the Irish package. And we call it the Irish package, you're going to come in. We're going to have you blitzing. We're going to have you doing that. Okay. All right. When they call the Irish package, I'm going to go over disrupting like crazy. So I took it like, okay, you told me that story, got me hyped up, but now I got a package. I'm going to go ahead and disrupt. A lot of kids don't want to persevere through that. Like, you know what? You told me that. I'm going to hold you to it. And if you don't do it, I'm gone.
Yeah. Great point.
I'm going out of there. So.
Man, that's big. All right, let me ask you this. Let's stay with Notre Dame. Great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Good question, Cole, about the NIL, because it's actually, Ant was telling me about this past weekend, and I'm so glad you asked that he could say that, because that's very educational. Let's talk about this. Now, obviously, you make the transition. You came in as a running back, and you said, the other guy you knew he was going to get rushes. You go over the linebacker. You make the best of it. Mm-hmm. And obviously you had success. We'll get to your senior season right after this. But for a high school prospect, mm-hmm. All-American or any young player who's inspiring to play the position of linebacker, what advice can you give them? Because again, to me, and I don't have as much football knowledge as you, mm-hmm. The linebacker to me, when I played, and I played a long time ago, it's kind of like, I kind of see it as a quarterback of the defense. Mm-hmm. And I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm asking, but what advice can you give a young high school prospect or even All-American that's inspiring to play that position? Because again, to me, in my eyes, that's kind of like the defensive quarterback on the field. But what advice can you give to somebody playing linebacker, especially the young players coming up?
I mean, the first thing is knowing the defense.
Great point.
Knowing the defense, knowing all the checks, knowing where you're supposed to be. And then the second thing, I mean, it could be a guy faster than you, quicker than you. But if you're watching that film and know their formations and knowing what plays they run out of their formation and that motion is going to make them do this, if you can make that one step ahead, it's going to make you better than the guy that might be faster than you, might be more athletic than you.
Right.
But you know what's coming. Okay, they go in motion. They run 3 plays when he goes in motion out of that formation. It's either a pass, a toss, or this. So you've got 3 choices. You see it, you go. So the film work, the study, the game study, the film study, knowing your defensive calls, then also knowing other people's calls. Like, knowing where everybody else is lined up.
Right.
I played weak linebacker, Will. And the coaches had me calling the plays. Like, they call it from the sideline, be like, okay, 53-1-3, blah, 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 blah. I was like, hey, you get the wrong guy. Like, reach up there and, tap them or whatever.
Right.
And just knowing where everybody's supposed to be, being the leader of defense, making the plays. But you got to make the plays.
Yeah.
Too. You got to make the plays.
Yeah.
You can't be the leader and you say, come on, guys. Like, man, you just got tossed up, man.
Exactly. You get beat. You get right. So they got to, yeah.
Talking about. So you got to make the plays too. So the first things I think is the film work, the study, and making plays. You got to make plays. Making plays like, man, come on, you just cheerleader
right
on the field and get you some pom poms and just boom by. So yeah, I think you definitely got to do that.
Great points. Go ahead, Cole.
No, I was laughing at that story, man. You had me thinking of my high school days, man. And how people didn't know plays and stuff at the time. But was gonna ask you,
great points, man.
What was it like managing your academic time and your practice time and your training time? And what were some key tips that you would give to someone in the audience listening who's about to go to college? How would you?
I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, how would you tell them to manage things?
That's a great question, man. I mean, coming from where I came from, we had chores. My mom, my folks, my uncle, they were strict on us. But I had never heard of an itinerary until I got to college. And I'm like, itinerary? Like, what's your itinerary right here? Wake up 6 a.m. Like, so time management was key. So, because I used to like to get my workout in early.
Right.
So I'll go up there 6 o'clock, get my workout in, and go to class. I mean, it's like having 2 full-time jobs, Right. You play definitely college at the high level.
We talked about this, Cole, this weekend.
2 full-time jobs, and that itinerary is key. Because you're thinking, I don't have enough time in the day. But when you get to college and you athlete with that itinerary, like, dude, I didn't know I could get so much done in a day.
Right. We talked about this. Yeah.
This is incredible. I got all that done. I got a workout. I got this. I got 3 classes. I got 15 hours every semester, and I'm doing summer school. The itinerary was key. I think that was definitely it, man. The change from going to school, going to practice after school, and to having your whole day broken down, planned out. And you better be there 5 minutes early or you're late. And the coaches, the freshman, sophomore year, they come in and check every room. Okay, I got this list over there in there. Okay, cool. So they double checking to make sure you're there. And if you needed any study hall stuff, they had that available too. Training table. We kind of had we didn't have what they have now.
Right.
And we had like little grab and goes, but now they got a feast for a king. Anytime they get out of practice, they got their own little setup over at the football facility. And another thing I like about Notre Dame too is we didn't have football dorms. We roomed with everybody else. So I remember my freshman year, we were at the training camp. My roommate, he's from Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And it was like 2 different worlds colliding, man. I'm talking country and I'm saying couch, and they like, say that again. I said couch, man. It's talking. It's like, man, you funny, man.
Yeah.
That's the way I talk, and it's just it was much respect though. I like the way he talked. Are you coming with? I'm like, coming with what? Coming? Are you coming with?
Cole and them made fun of me because I was from Texas. I had the Texas accent. The New York boys did the same thing to me, man.
It was funny, man. So I think that whole experience as far as getting the time management down, having to be accountable. If you're on time, you're late. I mean, I live by that right now. If you're on time, you're late. I tell my kids, you're on time. Yeah. You're late. You gotta be 5-10 minutes early.
And it's funny you asked that, Cole, because me and Ant were just talking about that. Me and his brothers, we were talking about that college schedule, that time management, having that day, having your days planned out, how much, how we underestimate how much we can get done. That time management factor, using your time wisely, man. You got 24 hours in a day and getting that done. So it's funny. I feel like, Cole, you was there this weekend when me and Ant was having this conversation because you asking the same questions that we was talking about. Yeah. But we talked about that too, how we missed that, that being able to get that done. So yeah, man, I feel like did you have a camera or something around, man? We just got through talking about this,
man. That high school athlete, a little bit of that student manager life, man.
Yeah. That's crazy. But all right, let's stay with Notre Dame.
Quick question though.
Go ahead, Cole.
I noticed you said that you have children. Mm-hmm. Would you allow them to play football in this day and age with all the things that are going on with the head injuries?
Man, it's funny you mentioned that because that was one of the reasons I stopped playing. My senior year, I was gung ho. Let's go to the league. We finna get paid, break them off something, But then I ran across some information that changed my mind, and I found out about John Mackey having dementia, Johnny Unitas, all these legends of the game, and NFL players dying like 10, 15 years sooner than people who didn't play in so many years. I'm like, man, I'm like telling guys, look at this information, man. This is interesting right here, man. Like we need to look at this a little bit deeper. So that kind of made a real 180 on what I was going to do after Notre Dame. So to answer your question, I won't let my son, I got a son and a daughter. He loves flag football. He loves football. He loves running. He's gung-ho football. I don't really talk about football that much, but he see me watching football. Mm-hmm. So, and I coach him in, flag football. But I wasn't letting a lot of people let the kids play like at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Maybe like a year before their organized football, I might let them play. Because now they have better technology with the helmets. Mm-hmm. And the helmets now are way better than ours. And they actually reduce concussions by up to 25% as opposed to helmets we were wearing back in the day. So I'm figuring by the time he gets to be in high school, maybe they, a lot better than that, 50%. But I mean, as a linebacker, you pretty much get in contact every other play. So, and defensive line, offensive line too. It just depends. He definitely gonna want to play, but I won't let him play early. Like some of these kids are playing these Pee Wee leagues, Pop Warner, and it's 11 under, 10 under, 9 under. I mean, I don't see the point in that. I mean, I'd rather work on getting his speed together, his footwork together, hand-eye coordination, things of that nature. Because then he gets ready to play. I mean, he'll be ready. But as far as hitting and all that, and they say, hey, well, they're not going to have any big collisions that, that size. I'm like, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather wait later on down the line. And like I said, that was one of the main reasons I stopped playing as far as like the concussion stuff, getting that information. Because I mean, one thing about college is, in high school, you regurgitate the information. Columbus discovered America. But then when you do some research, you're like, wait a minute, Albuquerque II sent some vessels over from Mali way before that. So, all that kind of thing. So you got to, the research that we learned how to do research in college and stuff made me look into that to make me change my mind about playing football, for a long time in the NFL.
Right. Great question. All right, we're going to get to that pro career. I want to ask one more question. I want to stay in Notre Dame and then we'll go to the pro career. Excellent question, Cole. All right, so and I'm curious to know myself. Your senior season, man. Your name in Notre Dame MVP, team MVP, team captain. Right. Your Associated Press second team All-American. Tell us about the senior season because it seems like, man, a lot of the awards, a lot of, you get All-American, that's big time in college. All-American period is big time to me because I never was an All-American. I never had a chance to be an All-American. But let's talk about that because your senior season, team MVP, team captain, second team All-American.
Mm-hmm.
Take us through that senior season. What was that like?
It was a lot of ups and downs. I feel like in college football, especially, I mean, even in pro football too, the quarterback is like the most key position if you're going to score, points.
Right.
We had a guy coming in, Arnaz Battle, who played for the
I remember him.
For the 49ers for a long time.
I remember that.
He was our starting quarterback. We played against Nebraska. Number one, Nebraska came into Notre Dame, and half our fans sold us out. So the whole stadium was like halfway red, and it was like, man, like I can't believe he sold us out like this, man. So it was a heck of a game. I had a great game. The defense balled out. Special teams balled out. Scored Julius Jones for the Cowboys. Scored on a kickoff return. Joey Gutherall scored on a punt return. We scored 7 points on offense, and it came down. It was tied up. We got a minute 40-something left with 3 timeouts. And I remember Coach Davey called a timeout. And we came to the sideline. And he's like, no, the offense came to the sideline. He's like, he looked at me. I'm going to put it on defense. We're going to run the clock out. And we're going to overtime. Like, we just shut them down in the second half, Coach, but we're on defense, not offense.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to score a touchdown.
Points, right.
Overtime, they got to go 25 yards. Like, it's Eric Crouch, the Heisman winner. It's some ballers over there. Yeah. So like, okay, cool. We go to overtime. We get the ball first. Arnaz broke his hand on the second play of the game. So we didn't know that till after the game.
Right.
I was kind of mad. So, man, we should have took some shots downfield, man. Give them a challenge them one-on-one. They playing man-to-man. We know what they're playing. We got some ballers. We had David Gibbons. He played for the Patriots, with Tom Brady. A lot of touchdowns in the playoffs. We had Javon Hunter. We had some ballers, man. And I'm like, damn, we ain't giving ourselves no chance. So long story short, we scored a field goal, and they scored a touchdown in overtime. We lost the game. So at that point, I think we were like, we won against them. We lost to Michigan State. So we ran off 9 in a row senior year after that.
That's big.
9 in a row.
Yeah.
Or 8 or 9 in a row. And we ended up playing Oregon State in the Fiesta Bowl, and we got annihilated. Yeah, we got beat bad. It was our worst game. I will say this: looking at it in hindsight, we were playing with our backup quarterback, Matt LeVecchio.
Okay.
And he played the whole season. He played valiantly, but he ended up transferring.
Okay.
He ended up transferring to that.
Because you say ups and downs, y'all won 9 straight though. Man, 8 or 9 straight.
It was one of those games where we had set a record in Notre Dame for turnovers as far as like offense. We only gave the ball up 8 times. In that game, we had 3 or 4 turnovers. It was 13-3 at halftime, and we couldn't do nothing on offense, man. It's like nothing. And it was one of those games where in football, it's field position. T.J. Husmanzano, they had him. They had Chad Johnson. Mm-hmm. So their strength was our weakness. We didn't have, perennial Pro Bowl corners. We had really good guys. We shut down their running game pretty much, but they were doing they hit Chad Johnson like an 80-yard touchdown, out route. Our guy goes for the interception. He misses it. Chad Johnson runs it down the field. He drops the ball at the 2-yard line. They still call it touchdown. T.J. Husmanzano gets a punt. We strip it. He's actually down. It bounces right into one of their guys' hands. He ran for a touchdown. Then they kicked it off. We fumbled on the kickoff. 26-yard drive. This all happened in 3 minutes. Another 20-something yard drive. We down 31.
So you saying the ups and downs? I think what I hear you saying, the ups and downs of that season this year, the individual awards was there for you, but the wins and the losses kind of made it. When you say ups and downs, the individual accolades was up, but then the way y'all lost and the lose, it was kind of bittersweet.
It was some heartbreaking losses.
Yeah, there we go.
We went to Michigan State. Nick Saban's the coach. They had beat us on the last play the previous year, man. They had some ballers too. They had Plaxico Burress. They had some ballers. They had Robert Smith. They had some guys on offense and defense.
Right.
It's 4th and 10, man. We got the lead. We call a blitz, and I'm thinking, why the previous year we called a blitz from the blind side. We called a fire zone from the blind side, and they hit Gary Scott on a little out route. He juked my boy Deke, and He took it 70 for a touchdown. This year, senior year.
Fourth down,
man. In the fourth quarter, with a minute something left. The same scenario happened. We called a blitz from the other side. They hit a dude. He hit it for 70, man.
Back-to-back years.
Back-to-back years.
Okay.
Fourth and 10.
So now I get the ups and downs now.
We lost to Nebraska. That was a heartbreaker. Number one team in the country came in Notre Dame. I mean, I think that was our come-out game for our defense. I will say this, man. 9 guys from my senior defense played in the league at least 2 years. So we had a really good defense.
Got some studs.
You know, we had some ballers. And then the year after that, we had maybe like 7 guys playing in the league a minute. But we had the ballers, man. It's just the offense let us down. I hate to say the offense, man.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that's the truth. That's why,
it was inconsistent. The FBS ball game, though, the turnovers on our side of the field, it really blew it for us. We were holding them on defense. It was 13-3 at halftime. The one shot they got to Ted Johnson, okay, give them that. But those turnovers and outside the field, if the team got to go 20 yards with those guys, I mean, what you gonna do? We had a goal line stand though.
Yeah,
we had a goal line stand, but it was like once you get you 3 and out, you kind of get tired. Man.
Yeah, you get tired. Yeah,
y'all give it 10 plays.
Because football is the ultimate team sports, man. Team sport. No matter how good the defense is, if the offense don't perform, and vice versa. So,
and I will say this though, the Michigan State game happened that year, 4th and 10, like back-to-back years, like deja vu. Like, man, what's going on? And the Nebraska game, you know, 3rd and 9, we could have held them for a field goal. Crouch ran in for a touchdown, but then you know. It was the greatest time too. We played USC out of USC. We sang to Rich Carlton, you know, a Russ, Texas boy, sang to Rich Carlton. Man, we had the robes on. We thought we was doing it, man. We thought we had robes on at the pool. You Hefner style, man. You know, we was doing it, man. I'm like, man, this is what I'm talking about.
You know? You used to this, huh?
It was ball. It was all ball, baby.
Oh man, so, this is at USC.
This in California. This is USC, LA. So my brother was out in LA. He was a bodybuilder at that point. Now he's a doctor. Yeah. He came out and we beat him. They had Carson Palmer. They had some ballers.
So y'all won at
USC. They had some ballers too. You know, USC was gonna have the talent. They have the skill positions. We beat them bad. They gave him a touchdown. We beat them like 38-17. And they had played Oregon State close that year. And I'm thinking Oregon State. It's almost like, you know, Oregon State. I mean, they set me up for one question, man, during the bowl game. We actually go back. We won the game. We partied in LA like we were rock stars, man. It was great, man. It was awesome, man. I had a good time, man.
Deserve to. You in USC, in USC, man.
So the setbacks, losing our starting quarterback, you know, going with a backup freshman the whole year, you know, winning 8 straight or 9 straight, then going to USC, beating them, all those, you know, talented guys they had at the Ritz Carlton, you know, Russ, Texas, the Ritz Carlton. It was awesome, man. You couldn't tell us nothing. So we get the Oregon State bid, and it was cool. But they set me up with one question, man. I'll never forget that dude. He was like, Anthony, you know, during the press conference before the game. He's like, Anthony, what do you think about Corvallis? I'm like, what's that? And Corvallis is where Oregon State was. And I'm like, oh, he set me up. So I was like, that's what Oregon State is. So, you know, the players, you know what Corvallis is? You know, because you interacting with other players throughout the bowl week.
Right.
So, you know, man, I ain't thinking about no Corvallis, man. I'm like, we finna blast y'all. You know what I'm saying? We finna get after y'all. We finna punch y'all in the mouth and run down y'all throat. That's what I'm thinking. But we didn't do that. You know, we didn't do that. I was like, man, it was like, man, it was in the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. It was a letdown. I will say that. I was mad. I was like, Oregon State. But you know,
I feel like y'all should have won that. Notre Dame versus Oregon State.
It was, you know, we had a one-dimensional team.
That's what it.
So they set out. They loaded the box, and they said, "Beat us passing the ball."
Yeah.
And they said, you know, we don't think Matt LaVecchio can beat us passing the ball, and you know the stats, you know, so he struggled that game. I think he went like 13 for 30 something. He struggled, and we struggled. We couldn't do nothing. And then the game we kind of got in. And one thing that kind of made me mad too, we scored a touchdown late. It's like 41-9 or something like that. Ooh. Exactly.
So they ran through y'all?
They ran through. Yeah. Wow. I couldn't believe it. Like I said, the turnovers, man.
Yeah.
Turnovers, critical turnovers on our side of the field. We gotta stop them from going 20 yards, 25 yards. Like, dude, give me something to work with. I mean, the whole first half, we punting it down there. They got a whole field, length of the field. Nothing. 20 yards, we get those guys. I mean, Chad Johnson ended up being a Pro Bowler. T.J. Usmanzana ended up being a baller. I mean, I'm like, dog, y'all not giving us a chance, with these turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, 20 yards, 30. They had 20-yard drive, 30-yard drive. I was like, oh, I was getting mad, man. I said, man, put me in running back, man. Put me in. They gonna do running back.
Exactly.
Put me in, coach.
Right.
I mean, because I felt like, you get some guys you're going against, they kind of like trying to Debo you,
Yeah.
I felt like they kind of had him kind of shook a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they kind of had him shook a little bit.
Like, it sounded like it.
They had some dudes, talking smack. I'm like, well, what's up then?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see that fire on the offensive side. I mean, I love my offensive guys, but I felt like, man, put me and Tony Driver back there. We're going to do some damage. But, it was a bad game. It was our worst game, and I felt like it was their best game. And it wasn't good.
I mean, it doesn't even sound right. Oregon State beating Notre Dame.
I know. But then, they beat a lot of people over the years,
Yeah.
It's like, they kind of sneak up on you. Like they get they had a whole bunch of transfer guys, JUCO guys, and them guys were just straight ball. They all ball.
It's still kind of hard to believe. But they have gotten better, like you said.
They had some ballers, though. They had Chad Johnson. They had T.J. Usmanzana. They had a good quarterback. He was delivering the ball pretty good. And the turnovers. I mean, we were plus margin and turnover ratio for the whole season. We had 8 turnovers for the whole season. And that game,
all of a sudden, you had 3 or 4.
And within 30 yards of scoring.
Okay.
20-yard drive, 25-yard drive. Yeah. Man, come on, man. Give me a chance.
Yeah.
To hold them.
That's crazy.
It was like the 300, man. It's like the defense was the 300, the movie, the 300.
Yeah.
The 300, we taking all kind of arrows. Like, man, all of a sudden they just bust through. They go in on the side gate.
Man, that's hard to believe.
It was a tough loss. I was mad, man.
It don't even sound right. Oregon State beat Notre Dame.
It was that ball. They beat. Looking back over, they kind of sneak up on people. I think they beat. Was it Florida some years ago?
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
If you just said Miami, I think guys would have been, oh, Miami, or Nebraska. We played. I think they were a better team than Oregon State, as far as team wise, and we played them super tight. But Oregon State, to their credit, they had Dennis Erickson, who won a championship.
Great coach. Yep.
Great coach.
Great coach. Yeah.
He said, we're going to put 9 in the box and run on that.
And make the offense beat.
You ran against everybody else, put 9 in the box. We're going to play man-to-man. And you're going to see if your freshman quarterback who just played high school football,
right?
They're going to beat you. You're going to throw 30 times and let him beat you. And he had a good plan. And then
sounds like
it was nasty. And it was like, man, put me in. I want to go offense too.
Let's get to this pro career, man. I know Cole on the East Coast, man, but this is a fire interview. Thank you, man. I could do this all night. But let's get to the pro career. So, pro career, you were selected by the Jacksonville Jaguars as the 213th pick in the 2001 NFL draft. Mm-hmm. You signed with the team on June 7th, 2001, and then you were released in August. Let's talk about the draft experience, the combines, the pro days. What was that like?
As I told Cole earlier, at that point, my senior year, I discovered that information. So I'm a kind of person that if I get enough empirical evidence, that I can make a pivot and say, you know what, that's not the right way to go.
Right.
And I made that pivot with the evidence I found about the concussions. I was like, man, I was telling dudes, man, I don't know if I'm going to play at all. And what, you tripping, man? You tripping. I said, no, man, look at this right here. Look at that. So throughout getting up to the combine, I probably worked out, man, maybe 10 times because my mind wasn't in it. It wasn't the same person that saw the number 39 on the wall and said, I'm going to make my number All-American. I'm like, do I want to do this? Looking at these numbers. Look at this, life expectancy.
Information about
looking at this dementia. My friend who actually came in the same class as me, Aaron Grenard, his dad died from dementia recently. I'm like, man, so you see it happening now. But back then, it was, you talking about. So when it came out in 2012, people were like, oh, calling me left and right. Hey, man, you were right. But I didn't even know if I wanted to play. So I ended up getting drafted anyway to Jacksonville.
Right.
And Jacksonville was happy to have me. Man, we thought you'd be taken in the second and third round. And blah, 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 blah. They drafted a guy from Tennessee, Eric Westmoreland. And I was like, I didn't want to do it. I was like, but man, they kind of dissed me, man. I felt like they kind of disrespect me. Like, hey, I was better than this guy, that guy, that guy, that guy. I'm like, okay. But I didn't put myself in a position to be there because I didn't get ready.
Right.
I didn't run the combine. I kind of had a calf tweak, but I was like, I could have participated more. I was like, man, I don't know if I want to play, but I should have, participated if I wanted to play.
Right.
And do the combine stuff. But looking back on it, I feel like I make the right decision. So going to the draft, I get drafted by Jacksonville, and in college, it's like you talked about. Initially when I got the letters from Holtz and I got the letters from Davey, it showed interest from both,
both coaches. Right.
NFL ain't like that, man. It ain't like that.
I want to hear this, man.
So day one, I get drafted by Jacksonville, and I selected Joe Siegel to be my agent. He's like a top 3 agent. He represented GMs. He represented Tampa Bay Buccaneers GM and Oakland Raiders GM too. So I negotiated his percentage down. He's like, damn, I like you. I said, why should I give you 3% when everything I'm gonna get drafted on is what I did before you even came into my life? He's like, you know what? I like how you do business. I'm gonna take that 2% or whatever. I think it was 1%, 2%. I said, cool. So like I said, I got drafted, and Michael Hughes was a brother. He was a GM at Jacksonville, and I had no idea this was going on before I got drafted. But anybody who got drafted, I think it's from the 3rd round down, what they were doing was they were giving you half of your signing bonus.
Yeah, you told me about this. So, check this out, Cole. This is crazy.
So
this is crazy.
If you get drafted, say first pick in the 3rd round, they got 900,000. The next person supposed to get 900 or 899,000, whatever. The next person 898. Jacksonville was doing this right here, 500. And dudes were taking it, left and right.
That is crazy.
And I was like, so from get-go, it ain't, oh, kumbaya, we happy to have you. It's already, we're trying to get over right now. We're trying to chingulate. You're trying to get over. We're trying to do some business stuff.
That's right. You told me this is like, crazy.
So my agent told me that. I'm like, man, what? And I always would talk, don't take no wooden nickels, I mean, my folks might not have left that area, but the principles they taught us.
Right.
It taught you in life how to get around situations like that. So I was like, you know what? No, tell them I said, you my emissary. Send the message. I ain't coming to camp until I get all my money. So a 20-year-old from East Texas.
That's big, man. Because you wasn't starstruck, and you said that throughout your whole career. You was never.
No, that's just another man.
Right.
Put your pants down on. That's what I was taught.
Right.
You respect a man. You look him in the eye, but you don't just reverence nobody like that. Like,
right.
Tell Michael I said that I want all my money, and I ain't coming. So we did the mini camp and everything, but it's time to go to training camp. And he was like, "No, tell him, we don't do that, blah blah blah." So finally, they caved in and said, "Okay, cool, we'll give you your money." So give me all my money. And I remember walking to the locker room during training camp, and all other rookies who got drafted, I guess 3rd or 4th round down. Man, who your agent? Who your agent? I'm like, what's wrong with y'all? And of course, all the signing bonuses are in the paper, so they know who got all their money, who whatever they got. So I'm like, what's up with that? I said, my agent Joe Siegel, what's up? He's like, man, you got all your money. And I'm like, yeah. And he was like, who your agent? It's like, wait a minute, hold up. My agent was going to take that deal because my agent has all kind of huge names like Michael Vick,
right?
First rounders. He got all kind of guys, man. So I told him to tell him I'm not taking it, and that's how I got my money. He's like, what? I said, yeah. I'm like, so at that point forward, I knew it was going to be a battle. It wasn't going to be, we happy to have you.
Right.
It's business, right. And it's all it is.
I remember you telling me that. That is crazy.
It was crazy. I'm like, this dude's trying to get over. Day one.
I heard they've been like this for a minute. I think I was reading an article recently that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have to play 3 seasons for you to get the pension.
Right, 3 seasons and 4 games or something like that.
Yeah.
Jacksonville was doing some.
The average NFL player doesn't make it 3 seasons.
Right, and they know that. So like, okay, this percentage of people don't make it that much, so that's less money we got to pay. So it's like Jacksonville was doing some extra shady stuff. And that's one of the things they were doing, getting over people on their signing bonus. I'm like, so wait, you're going to mess over all the guys who got drafted lower. Won't you just take some more from the guys who got drafted higher and make it even?
That makes sense, yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense to mess over us.
So you already knew that was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you leave Jacksonville after a small stint. You go, I believe you go to Cleveland next, right?
Right.
Tell us about that. You go to Cleveland, and of course, Cleveland is not like Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think you go there in September, you make the active roster, and you played in 11 games. What was that like in Cleveland? What was that experience like?
Well, I kind of want to give you the
Tim Couch was there, right?
Yeah, Tim Couch there. Kind of like the segue into how I got.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Because I mean, I respect Tom Coughlin because
he was a coach at Jacksonville.
And you know, every other team had, you know, Houston Texans training camp, you know, New York Giants training camp. His was called Camp Coughlin. You know, I'm like, what? This dude ain't won a Super Bowl. This dude, Camp Coughlin.
Yeah.
What's that all about? And I felt like their coaching style didn't mesh with, you know, how I was, you know, brought up. Like, you know, coaches, you know, trying to get in my face and talk, you know, all kind of ridiculous, you know, cussing you out, you know, personally. Like I told my agent, I'm not going to practice. Tell him I said, cut me or trade me or something. And he's like, man, you can't, it don't work like that. I'm like, tell him if I go back to practice and that coach, special teams coach, get in my face and call me EMFs, all this, that's going to be a Latrell Sprewell situation up in Jacksonville.
Right.
You didn't hear about me. You didn't heard about me back in 2000.
Right.
Anthony Denman, you know, coach, you know, like it was gonna get nasty up. And I said, look, I ain't going to practice, man. You better tell him.
Right.
So,
and you telling your agent this?
I told my agent, tell him. I said, you know, either have a meeting or something. So Tom Coughlin, he said, come on. He said, go back to practice. Tom Coughlin want to talk to you. I said, okay, cool. I sit down and talk to Tom Coughlin. He was like, what's going on, son? I was like, Coach, look, I mean, I love football. I mean, I don't know if I even want to play. I mean, you know, I talked about the concussion stuff. He's like, what? He's like, what's talking about? So I was like, man, I feel like you should just cut me. He was like, you sure? I was like, yeah, please cut me. So he was like, all right.
Big time.
So he was like, all right, I'm going to cut you then. I'm going to let you go. All right, cool. Thank you. He cut me. I got picked up by Cleveland at that point. So I get to Cleveland. It was a whole different vibe, man. It was like Butch Davis that came from Miami Hurricanes.
Right.
They had a more welcoming environment. They had, you know, they had sports psychologists. They didn't talk. They talked to you like a man. You know, it's like you can get a difference between somebody talking to you like a man as opposed to a piece of property. Or I'm gonna cut your, you know, ASS, and I'm like, that's not gonna bother me. What's you know, threatening people like that? I'm like, look, and talking crazy to them and cussing them out personally. Now, if you say, hey, Denman, you effed up on that play, but you calling me MFs and
calling
stupid SOBs.
And then you like say you're a grown man, you professional.
Mm-hmm. Never encountered this coach, you know. I ain't with that. So go to Cleveland, and like I said, whole different vibe. We're welcoming. Got the sports psychologist. You got the training table. You got massage therapists. I mean, I had never even thought about massage therapists, but then by week 4, I was like, man, I need that massage therapist. I saw guys going up in there limping and walking out like, man. Like, man. So I went over there, and that's how I kind of got into get massages all the time, like sports massages, because of the Cleveland experience. But
now, hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you. Let me ask you this. I know you talked about, you know, in Jacksonville and even the draft, you was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. When you got to Cleveland, it's a different atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Did that make you want to, I know you were still thinking about the concussion because you did your research, you educated yourself, but did that kind of make you want to play football, like maybe hang around a little bit longer?
I'll tell you, it was more college atmosphere, more camaraderie. It didn't feel like everybody was on pins and needles. I mean, you hear about stories about
you were used
walking down Jacksonville when Tom Coughlin was there, and people like going this side and looking down. I'm like, I'm not gonna look down. Like, that's crazy, man. Mm-hmm. So I told myself, I said, you know what? Let me try this football thing. Let me put the work in like I did in Notre Dame, but let me just make sure I tackle, you know, without my head in the way. Kind of hit my target zone, not head to head. More here and below, you know, kind of like a rugby tackle, hitting the legs and stuff like that. So I was doing that already in Notre Dame a lot, but that was my main point. That's about 90% of the time I'm tackling like that. If it's a head-on collision, an isolation play, maybe, but I'm not going to go head to head with you,
right?
Because I mean, I did my research and everything. So that off season, I put in some work, man. I really worked out hard, and then the next preseason, I did my thing. You know, I did my thing, and my agent called me one day, said, man, you got a team want to trade for you. I'm like, who want to trade? I'm like, well, what's up? I didn't know how it works. Like, he said, Miami Dolphins want to trade for you. I'm like, Miami Dolphins? I'm like, man, I'm back. I'll be back in the South. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been 4 years in Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. I've been in Cleveland a year. I mean, I've been Notre Dame, then Cleveland that year. I mean, yeah, I'm about that. Okay, let's do it. So for whatever reason, the trade didn't go through. So the whole offseason, I mean, the whole preseason, I'm balling, doing my thing. and they had drafted 3 linebackers, and Butch Davis was like, man, and my linebacker coach Keith Butler, he ended up being the defensive coordinator for the Steelers for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, Denman, we're gonna go between you and Brant Boyer. And Brant Boyer was a vet, and Brant Boyer was cool with the GM. I'm like, Brant Boyer probably gonna get kept, but that's not gonna stop me from busting Carolina one more time out here. So he's like, man, whatever happens though, you're gonna get picked up. All right, cool. So we play Carolina. They call me in, get my playbook. Pete Garcia was Butch Davis' right-hand man. Anthony, don't worry about it. You're gonna get picked up. Don't worry about it. You're gonna get picked up. I'm like, what's everybody tell me we're gonna get picked up? Trust me, you will get picked up. Butch Davis talked to me, man, you did a great job. You really did your thing this preseason, but don't worry, you're going to get picked up. All right, cool. I get home, my agent called me, man, you got picked up by 3 teams. I'm like, what? He said, I never heard a non-starter get picked up by 3 teams. I'm like, well, dang. I said, so who picked me up? He said, Miami, Minnesota, and the Buffalo Bills. And I'm thinking how it works is, okay, we got a bidding war. What opportunity can I get?
Best contract.
I want to start because, I mean, the most injury happened during special teams because we're now full speed. And I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking Miami my number 1 choice. But how the NFL works is the team with the worst record the previous year gets your rights. So if you get picked up within 24 hours or whatever. So I had to pack up my 4-letter, my Benz, and hit I-80, listen to Devin the Dude.
Oh, shout out to Devin, man.
You know, I would listen to Devin the Dude on repeat, Go Somewhere.
Right. Oh, man, he bringing it back for me. Yeah.
And I was like, they had a repeat, like, man, I felt like, man, they didn't want me, but somebody,
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to get away from here, So I get there to Buffalo, and we had scrimmage Buffalo. And I did my thing in the scrimmage, right? And we had 3 guys who I played with Notre Dame on Buffalo's team. And it was crazy because they were like the special teams coach, and he was like, man, see number 55 for Cleveland talking about me. That's how you do it. And they ended up cutting the guy, Jay Foreman. He played for the Texans for a minute.
Okay, yeah,
and they ended up cutting him to bring me in. Okay. And he played for the Texans like 5-6 years. So, and it was crazy, man. So I get there, and they said, go to the dining hall and get you some food. So I get the food, and I'm sitting down, I'm eating, and some gray-haired white guy come up to me with some khakis on. I thought he worked in
the cafeteria.
He's like, hey man, I followed your career at Notre Dame, and you can start here. And I'm like, start here? Like, who is this dude? I'm eating my food. Like, oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. I'm giving him the respect and everything. He's like, man, just get in the playbook, man. Just get in the playbook. I'm like, okay, cool. So the first game, man, we played the New York Jets. And we get 2 kickoff returns returned on the special teams. Now, in Cleveland, I was the same position on kickoff. I was the kickers right here. I was the L5.
Right.
Now, in Cleveland, when we get double teamed, which is the L5, since it's so close to the ball in the middle of the field, get double teamed a lot, they tell you to go around it and get back in your lane, right? Over here in Buffalo, they tell you to hold the point. That's helping the double team, coach. But that's what you want me to do? I do it. So I'm holding the point. All the guys who had been there the whole training camp, missing tackles. I mean, this guy was Chad Morton, USC running back. We had just bust his head the year before.
Right.
Get 2 kickoff returns on us. Like, this dude, he just bust his head last year, 2 years ago. Notre Dame, like, I can't believe this, man. So after that game, they had to shut down the phone line because everybody wanted Danny Smith fired. Oh, fire Danny Smith. Oh, fire Danny Smith. So I'm like, man. So after that game, man, I saw how grimy this game could be. It was, the laser pointer, the special teams coach. The new guys didn't miss no tackle. The new guy, hold up. So you trying to say the new guys are the problem? That's all season long, the new guys. You new guys. Well, I tell you what, I was 3rd on the team in special team tackles, getting beat, getting double teamed all the time, getting a lot of one-on-one tackles against, premier players. And I just didn't like it. I was like, you know what? This is some garbage, man. I was so mad. It was just crazy, man, what they were doing. And we had Greg Williams as the head coach. And Greg Williams.
Bounty Gate?
Bounty Gate.
Yeah.
And it was like that part of it and the whole, we want to get the John Deere out. I'm like, wait a minute. If I hit him and he gets hurt, that's one thing. But if I'm intentionally trying to hurt him, I ain't with that. So about week 4 in the season, I'm like, man, this is crazy. Because, in football, that the first team gets 4 reps, the second team gets 3 reps.
Right.
So about a week after 1 week, I know the playbook. So I'm telling the coach, the linebacker coach, hey coach, I got the playbook down. Get me in practice. Oh, we can stay right here. Stay right here. I'm like, so this guy, man, coach, I got it. Stay right there. So this other linebacker, I appreciate him for telling me this too. Named Keith Newman. He played at North Carolina in college. I said, Denman, you want to know where you're not getting a lot of playing time on defense? And I was behind Eddie Robinson, the one who said Deion ain't swag. And I was he was kind of older. He's a good player, but I know I was better, right? So he's like, Denman, you know we're not getting no playing time. So he opened up the media guy, and he was like, see the guy you behind? I'm like, okay, yeah. He got drafted by the Houston Oilers, right? Yeah, cool. He said Greg Williams was a D coordinator for the Houston. I said, wait a minute.
So it's political.
Kevin Gilbride.
Yep.
The whole coaching staff went from the Houston Oilers, the Tennessee Titans, the Buffalo Bills. Man, that blew my mind. I was like, oh, man, I'm in a situation.
So it's politics that.
Politics. And the guy who talked to me the first day was Tom Donahoe, the GM. He's the one who was telling me I could start. He's the one saying, oh, you can start having following your career. And I'm like, man, this is so obviously he was telling Greg Williams and them, hey, is he ready? Is he ready? They're probably nah. Greg Williams wouldn't even look at me, man. He'd be looking at me like, whatever. I'm like, this is weird. They just cut a dude who was a good player.
Right.
Jay Foreman.
Right.
And they wouldn't even talk to me. It was so political, man. It wasn't just me. Dick LeBeau. We know Dick LeBeau.
Right.
Great defensive coordinator, great player. He was the assistant head coach and not the D coordinator. Jerry Gray, who played for Greg Williams, was the D coordinator. First year D coordinator over Dick LeBeau. Like, how are you going to have,
a great
great D, made up schemes on defense, trap defenses and everything. How is he not the D coordinator? And this guy, nothing against Jerry Gray, but how he gonna be D coordinator over Dick LeBeau? Like, it was crazy, man. It was kind of stuff was going on, and you wonder why teams stay terrible.
Right, right.
Because you play your
Texans.
You playing your friends, you playing your guys, you're not making it a real competition.
Right.
You're not making it a meritocracy.
Right.
You're making it political.
Right.
I mean, you're thinking sports is meritocracy, but it's not.
That's crazy. And I do remember you telling me that. That's crazy, man. So to go through all of that, I mean, you were a stand-up guy all the way back when we started in high school. And what I mean by a stand-up guy is, man, I'm going to go out here and do my thing on the field, get to Notre Dame, do the same thing, crush it, All-American, go to the NFL, to get all the way over there to see all of this politics on top of all the research you already found out about concussions.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it's like, why am I putting my body on the line? And we're not trying to win, right? So what am I doing that for? So, I mean, to sum it up, after the season, I was like, you know what? I can't put up this no more. So, like I said, I didn't like Tom Coughlin as a coach, but I got to respect him as a man because he did what I asked him to do.
Right. So
I was like, look, if you're not going to get an opportunity to start, more money, more something, then either cut me or let me go. I told Buffalo that. And they were like, nope. I was like, nope. He's like, I said, well, tell you what, I ain't going to come to camp like I didn't. And he was like, okay. I said, so? And like, I said, you know what? I'm just going to retire. I might come back next year. We still got your rights. Man, I'm like, these jokers got you. They own you.
Wow.
I was like, so wait, if I retire, come back or whatever, you still got my rights. You still got control over me.
So if you wanted to go somewhere else,
you haven't. I mean, that's why I admire these guys and I respect these guys getting these guaranteed contracts and getting more power because, man, before it was like this. They had no power. You have no power. So it didn't work that time though. But long story short, it didn't work. So I was like, you know what? I just felt disenchanted about it. I focused in Cleveland my second year, did my thing, had teams want me. Okay, I'm gonna do this football thing. I'm gonna focus. I'm gonna do what I can do and make plays, whatever. But then got into a pretty political situation. It wasn't just me. I mean, I had a good friend of mine in Cleveland, similar situation. Marquis Smith, good friend, went to Cal. He got drafted second round for Cleveland Browns. When Butch Davis came in, I had no problem with Butch, but Butch moved him from starting free safety to second team outside linebacker and started Earl Little because Earl Little started for him in Miami when he coached in Miami. I mean, if you open up for open competition, that's one thing, but just to be putting people here and there, and that kind of ruined his career. Marquise never played a linebacker. He never played
that's like, almost,
And, you know, he played on special teams. I was telling Marquise, I warned him, like, look, when you go down on kickoff, the coach says bust the wedge, but not bust the wedge.
Right.
Make a juke on them, split the guys up, and make a play. And unfortunately, against a scrimmage against Buffalo, he tried to break the wedge and got a concussion. He was out 2 weeks, and he ended up getting cut. And, you know, he tried to get on teams later on. Really good player. I mean, he's still in great shape. He should have played 10 years, but that happened to him, and you know, he didn't play like 2 or 3 years. You know, it's crazy.
So, what, Cole? Let me let you get a question, and then I'm gonna ask mine. Go ahead.
No. I don't have a question. You can ask yours.
Okay, so based on all of that, and I mean, there's a lot of, you just spit a lot of jewels and knowledge in there about the NFL. It's definitely not, you know, and I've heard of the stories, and so, you know, I've talked to you and I've heard from other guys, and I'm hearing the same thing. Somebody going to the NFL, I mean, what advice can you give them on that? Now, of course, we talked about the concussion, and you made the right decision. But I mean, you just went through a whole experience of politics and all that. What can you advise somebody on that? Because that's crazy. I mean, that's the real world.
Yep.
You know, even in the work world, that's the real world. And it's kind of like, man, you know, like you guys, a guy like yourself, man, working hard, both on and off the field. I mean, you crushed it. High school, you crushed it. College, you played at one of the best universities. I mean, you had success. Here you are going into the league, and then you run into all of this. How do you tell a young player to deal with this? I mean, that would make me not even want to play even outside the concussions. Let's just say I was there and I wouldn't even think about, like, I mean, I work my whole life to get to this point. I mean, what can you tell somebody like that? How do you deal with that?
I feel like the best way to deal with it is, if you're going to play, right? You want to play, you want to go through all the politics, is realize that you're really trying out for all 32 teams. When I got released from Cleveland, I got picked up by 3 teams.
It's a great point.
If I wanted to play, I could have got picked up by some teams again. I could have, but I was like, you know what? At that point, like I said, I was just disenchanted. Like, you know, the life expectancy, all that good stuff. You got to be, if you want to do it, you got to know the risk, and you got to know that, you know, you're not just playing for that team. It's like in college, I got this Notre Dame ring. I don't have a Cleveland Browns ring. I have a Buffalo Bills ring, because it's different. It's totally different, and you got to realize there's a difference. Like, it's strictly business and it's politics, and you got to fight through it. If you want to keep playing, you got to realize that that's not the only team out there. I mean,
right?
There's other teams. If you want to keep playing, keep on fighting, keep on doing it, and you'll find, if you're good enough, you'll get picked up. I got picked up by 3 teams. I was like, to me, that was validation. Like,
right.
I didn't go to the team I needed to go to.
Right.
Because it was a crazy situation over here. But
for
me, that was like, you know what? I don't need to validate for anybody else. I know that I'm good enough.
Right.
I know I could have did. I saw guys who got cut in Cleveland end up starting in Buffalo and the Denver Broncos for 4 or 5 years. I mean, they weren't better than me. I ain't trying to be cocky, but
no, but that's the truth, man. I mean, that's such a great point, man. I'll even put that, what you said, like, even in the work world, because when I think about, you know, I've been a lot of places in the work world, and it's kind of like, you know, when you come out of college, and man, you said this, and it's like music to my ears, because I had to think about this. When I first came home from out of college, it was like, man, I couldn't get a job. I got a master's degree, and I'm sitting here going, you know, people pass me up. I'm like, dude, what? Like, am I bad? Blah, blah, this and that. But then once I started to break into the work world, and it's like, I'm really here to work hard and to move up, but to make this company better. And I kept saying to myself, man, I'm not breaking through. And it's like, I'm getting the short end of the stick. And I'm like, man, what's going on? And I had to realize that this is politics, dude. This is real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so at the end of the day, I can't internalize and make it seem like it's me. Like you said, you already knew that if you really wanted to keep going, you can keep going. And so it just goes to show you, man, like, there's a in everything that we do, there's politics.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like when that strategy worked in Jacksonville, I'm thinking, who wouldn't want to cut you? Like, okay, you want to play them? Fine. And that's why I respect Tom Coughlin for what he did. But it's like the Buffalo Bills, like, okay, we feel like they trying to take your spikes out offseason too. So I'm like, okay, y'all got to take your spikes. But it's like, they're not going to cut you because you're a great insurance policy. You in good hands with Allstate. We know you good,
right?
But we got you for a bargain basement price, and we're gonna keep that deal because if he go down, then we got you. That's a great deal. I mean, you see that happen all the time. I remember this guy from Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it was a guy from Michigan who was starting. Jason Worrells ended up being a starter. He led the league in sacks. The backup, like dude, the backup. I feel like, where did he come from? He'd been there the whole time, balling. But like I said, it's almost like that whole NFL experience messed up my worldview because I was always taught from
exactly.
Ducktail, hard work pays off.
Exactly.
My uncle drilled it, hey, hard work pays off.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'm going to Notre Dame. Hard work pays off. I graduated business management, minor in computer application, hard work, All-American, all that stuff. I got focused in Cleveland. Hard work paid off. Got picked up by 3 teams. Over here, hard work ain't paying off. Like, what? I got to go hang out with the coaches and like, what kind of games are these? Like, I'm not used to these games.
Right.
I don't play mind games. Like, what's up?
Right.
So, okay, well, trade me and cut me. And it didn't work. I'm like, you know what? Y'all can have it. I mean, I felt great because I went out on my own terms. You didn't tell me no. I told you no.
Right.
We good. And I got no hard feelings. I love it. I mean, I kind of got more validation when the whole concussion thing came out. I hated for guys who, didn't adjust their play because of, I was reading an article the other day, like they said the leather helmets back in the day were better than the helmets we had. I'm like, wait a minute. With research, not the kill shots, but the regular old, I'm like, the leather helmets were better than the helmets we had. I'm like, this is incredible. And then I was reading some other stuff, man. It was like 28% of players that play NFL end up getting some kind of dementia or something like that. So imagine if they had that helmet that has 25% less concussions, that number will be down. But they suppressed that information and withheld it from players. Maybe some guys would have kept playing, but give them opportunity to make that decision with all the information.
Right. Informed. Right.
So they said, oh, that's a lie. What are you talking about? They fought the guy who was trying to release it, but eventually it came out. So, I mean, it's the NFL is a trip. I mean, like any other sport, but it's different because you're putting your body on line in a different kind of way.
And the long-term effects.
Yeah, the long-term effects. So,
man, that's wow, man. Golly. I mean, like I said, I hearing you talk, man, it made me think about the work world because I was so depressed for a long time. But as I got older, man, I understood that, and people need to hear this on a podcast, man. Like Ant said, because I went through the same thing with my work experience. You've been trained to go hard work. And then at the end, hard work does pay off. But there is a politics angle that you're going to have to deal with in this real life.
The beautiful thing about it is when I got released from Cleveland and all the coaches and the staff were like, man, you can get picked up. Like, what I learned from that was, hey, this ain't the only opportunity. There's so many opportunities. I could do whatever I want to do. Not just here. In business or whatever, there's opportunities everywhere.
Right.
Opportunities come a mile a minute. That's what I learned from that. Like, you know what? I don't have to be stuck in this. There's more than one way. There's 100 paths to get to a success.
Right.
So, Cleveland didn't Cleveland didn't want me that year. They wanted me, but we draft 3 guys. You can get picked up. Got picked up by 3 teams. I'm like, man, this is what's up. But the only thing is I didn't have control where I went to. I didn't like that part. But hey,
that rights part, that is creepy to me, man. But that's true. That's real, man. Golly.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Hey, a lot of realities. Well, Ant, man, this has been everything I wanted and more.
Appreciate it.
Listen, man, I appreciate it, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man, and listen, if you ever want to come back on, I'm gonna definitely try to have you back on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate this.
Thanks, man.
You blown this interview out of the water for me. Man, I really want to thank you, brother. Man, you a good dude.
Hey,
appreciate you.
Likewise.
Cole, you got anything to add, man? I'm blown away, man. I needed this NFL and college football experience, man. This is great. This is great. You dropped a lot of gems on the audience. Cole, if you got anything else, man, go ahead.
I want to say thank you, man. I appreciate some of this insight, man. I've been watching a lot of shows that were based on, NFL. I've been watching this Deion Sanders Prime. I've been watching that old HBO show with The Rock. And I felt like a lot of stuff that you talked about, I'm seeing pieces and glimpses of it through the stories that you're sharing. And it's crazy how the industry is used us black men to move up and to make money and treat us like cattle in so many different ways and slaves and to not give us our fair share and to hear what they've been doing with even people who played 2 seasons and not giving them no money or not giving them anything to assist them, no medical assistance in certain cases. It's kind of heartbreaking, man. And I commend you for standing up for what you believe in and what you felt was the right thing for you and for being informed, because a lot of us don't get informed when it comes to money. We're just like, oh, I need this money, I'm trying to change the situation. But to understand that, our bodies is our temple, and to understand that it's more important to be there for your family and down the road is one of the biggest things that I could say is I commend you for, and for being that example to black men. So
I appreciate that, man. It kind of brings me up a story I'm thinking about when I was in Cleveland, man. And I told you about how I was thinking about the long term, and I remember vividly in Cleveland, they signed a cat named J.J. Johnson from Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at Miami before, and they've signed him, I think, $800,000. They all in the Cleveland Plain Dealer saying, hey, JJ's going to be fullback/tailback. He's going to be doing this and that. I'm like, okay, cool. Who's this JJ guy? He come in, he cool. But then one practice, they ran a screen, and he was supposed to crack my homeboy Marquise.
Mm-hmm.
When I told you that he went from outside linebacker, from safety to outside linebacker. At the last second, Marquise saw him and put a shoulder into him. Boom! And he hit the ground, and his butt skipped the ground like a rock over a river. Everybody said, "Ooh!" That sound like, "Oh my God, he got blew up." He stayed down. The medical staff came in, got him, and then we didn't see JJ for like 2 weeks. Like, what's going on with JJ? Man, I came to the facility, and they said, "Man, you seen JJ? He back." I'm like, "No, I ain't seen, man. He jacked up, man." I'm like, "Jacked up? What you talking about?" Like, everybody, "You seen JJ? You seen JJ?" I'm like, "No, I ain't seen JJ." So, dude, I saw JJ, and the right side of his body was like Lou Ferrigno, and the left side was like a 9-year-old. He had nerve damage in his neck and in his shoulder.
Man.
And the same JJ they were hyping up in the paper, they were escorting him out with security, carried his locker. I mean, the man was crying when I walked by. I'm like, man, this is crazy, man.
They cut him?
They cut him, They gave him an injury settlement. I don't know how much it was, but I was like, this is a cold game. Bodies, just like this.
Expendable.
I mean, they were just hyping this guy up, He's going to be fullback, tailback. He's going to be part of the passing game and all. And I'm like, man, this guy must be tight. He was nice. And, and then, like I said, my buddy hit him on that screen, and
that was it.
It's over. It was over. Just that quick. And I said, man, I remember Al Lerner was the owner, and I said, man, when I first got my first check, and it was crazy, man. My check was like 16,000. I'm like, man, this is a lot of money to go down there and make a couple of tackles. And I was like, well, I looked at that signature on that line, Al Lerner. I said, I wonder what Al Lerner did. And I found out that Al Lerner, he started in real estate. And then he started, he had MBNA Bank. I don't know if you remember that bank back in the day. So, and he was a former, I think he was a pilot or in World War II or something like that. I'm like, he writing our checks. He writing my check for my man, Jameer Miller, who was an outside linebacker from UCLA, for a $900,000 check. I'm like, he said, Dim, you have a check like this one day. I'm like, man, this $900,000, he made 3 tackles in the game. And I was like, man, this is crazy. But I was like, I need to do what Al Lerner doing. It's a better way to make some money. He ain't making not one tackle, and he write these big old checks. And I saw what happened to JJ. I was like, man, and it always stuck with me what happened to JJ. Like, man, this is brutal. I mean, they escort. I mean, think about it. He has nerve damage in his neck and his shoulder. Do you really need to escort him out with security? Can you just help him with his stuff? Because he can't do nothing to you. Like, that was brutal, man. Like, I'm like, this is just a cold game. And I'm like, man, this is incredible. It really affected me. Like,
perspective too.
Like, do I really
want to do this?
I mean, even if I don't get hurt, because I don't feel like I've never been hurt like that. But to hurt somebody like that, to me, like, as a human, the humanity in me, like, man, just ruin this man's life, like, and it was crazy, man. But it's almost like, I mean, back then, Marquis said, y'all blew his ass up, I'm like, dang, dog, you ruined his life, but man, he should have came and blocked me. I'm like, is that the right? I mean, like, I don't know if he would say that now, but hey, it's whatever, man. Like, dang, you got to have that machismo.
And that's that game. That's the game mentality you have to have.
Like, dang, like, I mean, he's a good dude, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he taught me, like, we'd done a lot of business together over the years, but I'm like, man, but at that point, it's like, it's a dog eat dog world. It's either you or me.
Right.
And that's how they put it. They put you against each other, like you were talking about. And that really stuck with me, the whole situation with JJ. Like, I mean, you know what? I'm good on this. Y'all don't play games too? All right.
Cool. It made me think about the lockout when you had the players that had it, and then you had the players that didn't, and they was playing on those players that didn't.
Right.
Because they just say, oh, y'all didn't save y'all money, and they ended up outlasting the players. So
I mean, they do it every time, man. It's like divide and conquer when they were trying to do the social justice thing. And Kaepernick was kneeling, and the guys, it was a unified front. But they found one weak link in the chain.
Man, big point.
And they said, okay, Malcolm Jenkins, whoever, if we give y'all $100 million for y'all cause, then would you stand down? Divide and conquer. And they didn't take a new $100 million. They took $100 million from the breast cancer and this other little initiatives they had. That's not even no new money. They said, okay, cool. Now there's no movement. I mean, because think about it. If the NFL players, the NBA players, and all those leagues say, we're not going to do nothing until we see some change.
I've been said this, right?
And legislation for
and
people,
not play
the have-nots.
Right.
It would be some change tomorrow. But that divide and conquer, like you talked about, that's what it's a tried and true strategy for ever since Bacon's Rebellion, the 1%, always, got the upper hand.
Just think about how much money they have if they could just pull $100 million like that from, even if it's from another account, and just say, okay, let's get these players to be quiet.
Yeah, I mean, and then you think about it from this perspective, when Kaepernick was trying to sue and everything, they paid him about $80 million or whatever it was to not sue. So once they did the discovery and they said, okay, let me turn on your cell phones. And don't tell them what they were sending those cell phones. It was so bad, they were saying in the emails of cell phones, they had to pay that man all that money to not play no more. He made more money
not playing
when he sued, and they had the discovery. They said, we can take this to trial. If they took it to trial, ain't no telling, the NFL probably had been a minor league. They probably would have destroyed the whole league because they're going to pay me, I don't know, 60 to 80 million to not go to trial to show what Jerry Jones would text. We know what the Houston Texans owner, the inmates running the asylum.
Right.
Man, it's deep. I'm like, man. So when it happened to JJ, I was like, this is incredible. Like, and they just escorted him out. Like, he's just another piece of meat.
On to the next one.
I mean, I think JJ ended up bouncing back though. I think he had a business in Mississippi.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, exactly. But that stuck with me. I was like, man, this is brutal. And you see it happening over and over. Every time, you see he got some traction, some kind of some guys are gonna stand up. They get divided.
Divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the proper conclusion, man, to a great episode, man. Hey, man, this what you brought today. This is a great interview, man. Appreciate again, I want to thank you again. I can't thank you enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, you giving the content that man, this is great. This is educational. As soon as we get this cut, Chuck, man, we got to get this to Ant-Man. And Ant-Man, I want to encourage you, man. I know you don't do a lot of podcasts, and I understand, man, but man, you got a lot of knowledge, man.
It's just an experience, man. I appreciate y'all having me, man. And it's been a great experience, man.
Yeah, listen.
Cole coming from New York, man. You had some great questions, and I appreciate you having me on, man.
No, thank you for coming, man. I definitely learned a lot from you, man. Definitely learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's my partner right there. That's my guy, man.
Awesome.
All right, well, look, man, Cole has been real. Ant, thank you for coming through, man, and sharing with us, man, dropping a lot of gems. Want to thank Mo Serious. Want to thank Chuck, the Mo Serious family from Mo City to New York. We'll catch up with you next week and do it again. Thank y'all for tuning in. This has been great. One of the best episodes on Debate with Bait podcast. You can stream this on Spotify, Apple, Google, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow Mo Serious Entertainment on Instagram and Facebook. Subscribe to Mo Serious Entertainment on YouTube. Catch us next week on Debate with Bait podcast. We want to thank Anthony for coming in, man. Blessing us, man. We ask that Ant come back. Peace.
Thank you.